So this morning we're here with Patricia and Shea. I'm going to start with you first, Patricia. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Patricia Lewin. Who am I? Start off with, I'm Shea's mum. I'm a party wall surveyor. I have my company, Fuller Lewin Party Wall Services. Before that, I was a housing development manager, client side, helping to build new homes. And basically I do all of that because I like buildings. At one point, this is before she was born, I didn't really have like a decent home, so my thing has always been related to property and buildings, and pretty much that's like been like a thread through my life.
Do you know, I love that you said that because people think I'm weird. I love buildings. And people think I'm weird. People think I'm weird because I'm a woman that I like buildings. They're nice, aren't they?
I don't think it's weird. I mean, the other day I was going to meet Mum because we were going to go buy some curtains and stuff, and I was on Streatham High Road. And Streatham High Road has actually got like some very varied buildings, and I was a bit early, so I was literally just standing up on corners, just like literally taking various photos, because I finished studying for like building surveying, so now I'm really into buildings. So now I just want to get more into the depth in terms of like the detail of the buildings and
for facades and
all of those kind of things. So buildings are my thing.
I love that. High five you. Show me the pictures later.
I'm afraid.
So you mentioned you're a party wall surveyor. What is that? What is a party wall surveyor? What do you do? What's that all about?
I get asked that quite frequently, and it's just like, how do I put that succinctly and in a way that's easy for people to understand? Not as many people as you would think actually know what that entails. So it's about administering the Party Wall Etc. Act 1996. And the purpose of that act is to protect foundations and structures of other properties. So if you're carrying out any form of home renovation, home improvement, or structural works to a property and it's in close proximity to another property, then a party wall surveyor is there to help ensure that that act is adhered to. And we do that by serving notices, although we may get to that another point. Serving notices, you can actually do that yourself, but the mandatory part of the act is serving notices, which is basically informing others that you're intending to carry out the works. And then if there's a dispute, then the party wall surveyor's job is to resolve that dispute. And you do that by producing a party wall award, which basically sets out the rights and obligations of both parties, so the person carrying out the work or the company carrying out the work, and the person who might be affected by the work.
So who would you normally work for? Would you normally work for the person doing the works, or could we instruct you if we were the neighbour?
So a party wall surveyor can represent both parties. So for example, suppose you were carrying out a rear extension and Sarah lives beside you. You would start the process by serving a notice. That is the only mandatory part of party wall, etc.
To say that I'm going to build this extension.
Yes, because what that does is that informs Sarah that you're going to carry out works, and it lets her know
there's going to be noise, there's going to be builders swearing.
Yes, but there's the potential for her property to be impacted. So once you've served the notice, then what Sarah has is the option to either agree to the works or call it consent. I'll just keep it simple. I won't really use the language of the act. You can agree. You can say, okay, I agree, but actually I'd like a schedule of condition, which is just like the photographic schedule, just to make sure if there's capture any existing defects. The schedule of condition isn't actually part of the act, so it's not mandatory. We recommend it, but you don't necessarily have to do it. Or you might say, actually, I dissent, which just means, it doesn't necessarily mean you disagree with the works, it just means I would like the protection of the act with the party wall award. So you might decide that you want to share the same surveyor, so they call that an agreed surveyor, but that agreed surveyor does not need to be your original surveyor. You could propose one, and then you might say, actually, I'll go with your one. Or the fourth option is, actually, I'd like a party wall award, I would like my own surveyor, in which case you both have a surveyor each.
So truly independent then?
So we're supposed to be, regardless of whether we're acting on behalf of both parties, we're supposed to be impartial. So it's all about protecting everybody's rights in property. It allows you to carry out your works lawfully.
Can she stop my works though?
she can't stop your works, but she can. But there's a statutory notice period. So when you're serving the notice, that period has to run before you can start your works. And what that statutory notice period allows Sarah to do is time to respond.
Right.
So if you're doing your rear extension, for example, if you're doing excavation, that's 1 month's notice. If you're doing works to a party structure like removal of a chimney breast, it's 2 months. And if you're doing any works along the boundary, that's a month. So I'm simplifying it slightly, but then there's a little bit more to it than that.
So would they all be consecutive, or would they be?
So for example,
it can only take 6 weeks, say.
No. So for example, if you were doing your rear extension, then for excavation that's 1 month, and if you were doing say a loft extension, then that takes you 2 months. So the 1 month and the 2 months, they run concurrently. So the whole purpose of the act is it's an enabling act. The whole purpose is to allow you to be able to get on with the works as quickly as possible, but also while making sure that your rights are protected. That's the whole purpose of the act, and that's why we're there as party wall surveyors.
So you're going to allow me to have my extension?
I'll think about it.
So remember, she can't stop you, but she can make it take a little bit longer. And the other key thing to remember as well is, although there's that set time scale, Sarah can actually agree to the works taking place earlier than the expiry of that.
Interesting. And was clever, isn't she? Are you agreeing to carry out the works? Would you like?
Yeah, maybe I'll agree to it then. So actually, this is a question. So Sharon's going to get the work done. I've been served the notice. As the neighbour, could I put in place, well, if you've got builders coming in or the works, can they be carried out between these set times? Weekends, can I say, on a Sunday,
To an extent. So that's part of the party wall award as well. So there's a little bit of negotiation there. So either between, if there's 2 separate party wall surveyors, or, if you've got your agreed surveyor representing both parties, it's having a discussion to understand what your concerns are. Because the whole purpose of the award, some people call it an agreement, but really the terminology is award. The whole purpose of the award is setting out the time and the manner of works. Now, in the first instance, each borough or council will have its own rules. So most will say, Monday to Friday between 9 and 5, that kind of thing. Saturday 9 to 2, Sundays no works, no public holidays. So that will be your starting point. If there is one of the jobs that I had, or appointments rather, that I had earlier in the year, they said that because a lot of people work from home. She said we work from home on a Monday evening, Monday afternoon rather. It's like, is it possible that you don't have any noisy works during this period? Not a problem for the building owner, which is what you would be called if you're carrying out the works and you're the adjoining owner. So you can to an extent. So everything is negotiable. It's just about, I guess it's about being reasonable.
Yes, yeah. And I suppose the good thing would be if the neighbours got on. I suppose that makes your life a bit easier as well. If the neighbours have
I've heard stories from other party. I've heard stories from other party wall surveyors, and I've received a couple of calls as well. I've explained the process in a little bit more detail than I have here. And the husband said to me, "Oh, my wife does not like that guy." I'm just like, "But you do realise, this is quite, you don't need 2 surveyors for this thing." And he said, "My wife does not like him. She wants him to pay as much money as possible. She wants us to take as long." I was just like, okay, this is I didn't know what else to say after that point, because I've advised you. This is a thing. So that the whole purpose of the act is not to incur unnecessary money. It's about protection. It's also about trying to be reasonable.
Do many people share? Because I don't think I'd like to share, actually.
I've been doing it for coming up to a year now, but I've got my mentor and I speak to other surveyors. There's lots of varied stories, and there are lots of people that no, I quite like my own surveyor, and some are concerned. Some are concerned. Well, how can you be impartial? And how can But if you think about it, you're following legislation. So it's kind of like you've got that process in place, and again, it's about protecting rights.
You'd hope the party wall surveyor would say that about educating both of us because it may be, I think majority of cases is going to be, I don't really like her. She's got loud parties. If I allow her to do this extension, she's going to have bigger parties.
And this is the thing, and like some people take another view. It might be, well, okay, well if I just go with your agreed surveyor, you know, next year I'm going to be doing my own extension.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good for quality.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. So I guess it comes down to, you know, people are people, aren't they?
Yeah.
And like at the end of the day,
I could not do your job. I could not do your job.
Well, that's kind of why I like it, because part of it is like getting to, because you know, one of the main things is about communication.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, some people are going to be really laid back and straightforward. Like, I just want you to get on with it. Other people are like, they want to know every single step and all the details. Yeah. So there is a jurisdiction that, you know, that we work within. And you know, it's sometimes it can be quite easy to come outside of that jurisdiction, but you know, that's the whole purpose of having a mentor and other people, you know, when you're camping and everything.
Wow. I still couldn't do that. So Shea, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Shea. I'm a second year student at University of Cambridge studying Human and Social Political Sciences, HSPS. And because I'm in my second year, I specialise in politics and anthropology. But I did a year of archaeology last year, my first year.
Wow.
And it was like really, really, really fun.
Wow.
Like Egypt and like Mesopotamia, you know, like Cleopatra, all of those people. Yeah, it was actually really, really fun. Outside of like university and academic stuff, I really like photography. So I do a bit of photography, and I also do like facilitation for teachers, mainly primary school teachers, about topics such as like anti-racism and migration as well. So like increased immigration and stuff. So like educating the teachers about, you know, like how to integrate that student properly, essentially, and you know, like if they have any issues, like how you deal with those types of things. So that's the things I do outside.
Proud mom.
Gosh.
Super proud. Yeah, but then you forgot the bit about as well how you help, you know, in the business.
Oh,
the background.
Of course. Yeah, you know. So because I really like photography, I help mum with the business as well in terms of like if mum needs any professional photo shoots, you know, I'm there with that. And then also the social media, because I used to be a social media manager as well.
Oh my gosh.
Did that for like 3-ish years, like until I went to university. So yeah, I do that as well.
You're going to be a warrior.
You
are. She already is.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, you're supposed to inspire your children. It's just like we got to a point. It's just like, hold on, the roles of reverse. Because it's like because it's like, you know, on the website, any marketing materials and stuff, the photos that were her. And like I tell everybody, if you see it, because social media is just like, it's not my thing. It's the world we're in.
It is.
So, you know, so if you're on my Instagram and there's a half decent post, that wasn't me. It really wasn't. Yeah, so she might be at uni, I'd be like, I want to get this message out. And it's like, I send her the stuff and she just like does it.
FaceTime you all the time.
Well, she's like a property team then, isn't she?
No, she actually, she does a little bit of admin in the background, so she actually has and does help quite a bit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you mentioned there, so I'm just going to rewind back to the course that you do, HSPS.
Yeah.
What, and you mentioned it, and what is that all about?
It's like a course that's only really done at Cambridge. It's like all of the social sciences combined in a sense. So you can pick from sociology, politics, international relations, social anthropology. You can do a bit of archaeology, you can do a bit of psychology as well, and a bit of history somewhere in there. So in the first year you kind of do the core four, what they call them, so politics, international relations, sociology and anthropology, and then in your second year you can choose two of those or one of those, and then in your third year you can either stick with the two that you picked or out of those two pick one in your third year, and that's what you're specialising in your third year. But I picked politics and anthropology because I find it really, really interesting.
Wow, and you mentioned you're at Cambridge, so this is only run at Cambridge?
Pardon me?
This course is only done at Cambridge?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so what's it like to be a student at Cambridge? I've heard it's really intense.
Yeah, it is quite intense, but like also it's all I've known because I've only ever been to that university. But like from what my friends are talking about, like in other universities and the amount of free time that they have, and all of the essays, like for my course in the first year you do 12 essays in a term, and a term is 8 weeks. So obviously that's a lot of essays to get through. And then I'm hearing my friends from work and they're like, oh, I do one essay a term, and I'm like, oh, you know, like wow, you know. But it is quite intense. But when you have good support network, I think you have your friends wanted to go there. And at Cambridge you have, and I think at most universities you have a tutor, so that's the person who gives you that pastoral support if you need it. And then we also have a director of studies, so that's the person who is in charge of your academics essentially. So if you have an issue in terms of your course, if you want to switch courses or anything like that, then you'll go to that person. So they try their best, but obviously it still is quite intense. It is.
Excuse me. I was going to say for the mums wanting their daughters to go to Cambridge, but also daughters to go to Cambridge themselves. Their standard of education is obviously very, very high compared with other unis, isn't it?
It is quite high, and like you do see that in terms of the intensity, and I think that's why, because in terms of essays, like when you're doing the exam, you've practiced so many times because you've done about 24 essays by that time, then you kind of, it's the repetition in terms of that, and then also instead of what they call them in other universities, I think they call them seminars in other universities. In Cambridge we have tutorials and supervisions. So in supervisions there'll be maybe 2 or 3 students to a supervisor, and that's when you'll go through your essay and the check-up as well. So because it's such a small amount of people, you have a small number of people, you feel comfortable, a bit more comfortable to ask the questions that you need to. And sometimes they're one-on-one as well, which is like the best if you've done the reading and if you actually know what you're talking about. But then you can ask as many questions as you feel comfortable doing, and it's a lot more. You really understand the topic, which is really fun.
And it's very different from school. It is a huge shift, isn't it? From going from I take it from a local comprehensive to
it is quite
to
a big,
Cambridge.
Yeah, it is quite a big shift. But what I'd say is with Cambridge, because there's a lot more, like for example, the tutors and the supervisors, they know what you're doing, so it's slightly a bit more like school than other universities, I would say, because they really want you to do well, because obviously you're already there.
It's their reputation as well, isn't it?
Exactly, they have a reputation to upkeep at the end of the day. So it is quite, I say maybe a slightly more comparable to schools in that sense. But obviously it's still university vibe, like you can still go out if you want to. Technically you don't have to go to the lectures if you want to. But yeah, it's definitely intense. But I would say the sixth form that I went to, they were basically trying to get people into Oxbridge. So they kind of, gauge you up to do that. Lots of essays, it's all of that stuff. We have to go to school.
Did 4 A-levels.
Yeah, I did 4 A-levels. What else? We had school on Saturdays from like 9 to 1. So they really did try and instill that.
I forgot about those days. It was quite intense.
I
was stressed up for it.
I was stressed, I was even remembering about it the other day, like, wow, I actually went to school on Saturdays, like, that was like a punishment, but at the end of the day, it got me where I am now. So,
But I think from a business point of view as well, that, what people don't see is, you've been very lucky in business, but they don't see all the hard work that goes into that, and it's like you say, you don't just get given a place in Cambridge, you've had to work your arse off too, on a Saturday as well. And lots of kids aren't prepared to do that, are they?
Yeah, it's very true. But I would say like some schools, or like say private schools, they will instill that more in their students. So when in terms of interviews and the actual preparation for university, they have got that already. Because they prepared, and so obviously like money does help. And then another thing that I do as well is I mentor students to get into, well, mainly in my course because that's why I know. But yeah, there's this program called Target Oxbridge, which is like made for like people with like the global majority, so like Black or Asian, but I'm pretty sure it's just mainly Black students that actually get into Oxbridge, because in terms of like demographics, we're not really there for a number of reasons. But so I mentor people to get into Oxbridge, and then you can kind of see the difference in terms of people who go to private schools and people who haven't. And it is quite a major difference. And then I also do like mentoring, like paid mentoring for like other students whose parents have paid essentially, and you can see the difference because they probably go to private schools. So yeah, there is a big difference.
Wow. So what are your plans, Sonny? What's your big goals?
Oh,
are you doing like 10-year plans, 20-year plans?
I've got a bit of a plan. I always try to have a plan just so I can see where I'm going. So I did a gap year. I took a gap year before I went to university, just to travel and kind of just decompress after that intense.
I forgot to ask how old you are as well.
Oh, I'm 21.
21.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've had your gap year.
I've taken my gap year, now currently in second year. So I did that to kind of decompress and just kind of sort out what I wanted to do. Because in terms of, this is like a side story, but in terms of like getting into Cambridge, like, it wasn't like the normal route. So essentially, when I was in sixth form, before that, to get into my course you need to start AA. I've always known that. And then when I was in sixth form, I was operating at AAAA, which obviously wasn't the grades required. Then by the time it got to our predicted grades, which is what gets sent off to university, I was like, okay. So it wasn't enough. So I said, okay, well, I know I'm taking the gap year anyways, so let me just not apply to Cambridge this year. And then if when I get the grades, then I'll reapply in that sense. So I still applied. The main one I applied for was Warwick. And then I got all of those offers because they were like A anyways. Mm-hmm. So I got those, then I found out that I did get the A star that I needed. What did I get? 2 A stars and 2 A's in the end. So I was like, okay, cool, I can apply to Cambridge in my gap year. So I did that, and I think it was easier knowing I'd already gotten the grades. Because it was just a lot more comfortable. I was like, all I have to do is impress the interviews, and actually, do that type of stuff. So I managed to, so I did the interview, and then I managed to get in that way. So it was like a different route. But in saying all of that, I have a question.
What's your bigger plan?
Okay.
Is there like a 10-year plan?
I wouldn't say 10-ish. I don't know. Mainly, obviously, finish university, aiming for a first. Fingers crossed.
So you were finished when you were 23, were you?
Yeah. 23 or 22?
23.
Yeah.
23. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, when I finish, I would really want to do a graduate scheme at a specific company that I really like. Can I say the company?
Yeah.
It's a company.
Yeah,
Right.
you've already said it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's get some offers on the table.
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
Let's broker this deal.
Let's get to it.
Go on, what do you want? How much money you want?
Don't tell. So I really like to do a graduate scheme at BP. I currently have it secured an internship with them in like the summer. It's like an 11-week internship with them in the summer, and then that kind of fast tracks you to the graduate scheme anyway. So I'm on the right track for that. And then I kind of want to, after those 3 years, take a break from like work and all of that to do some more traveling, because I really like traveling.
She does like traveling.
Yeah, during my gap year I went to
you went 3. We've even been away 3 times this year.
Probably. So after that graduate scheme, I've had to take a bit of time to travel and stuff, and set up some different sources of income. So I don't want to just rely on like 9-to-5 stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Young women in business. Yes.
Do self business in some sort of way that gives me like a bit more passive income as well, and then obviously like investing stuff. So the aim is just obviously not to rely on like a single source of income and be able to travel when I want. That's the goal really, to travel when I want and do some more like photography stuff as well. So like not necessarily being a travel photographer, but something along those sorts. Essentially, even if my interests change, just being able to do that and not having to rely on money and cost of living crisis.
I'm going to ask a weird question as well. So you have gone through COVID like the rest of us as well.
Yeah.
What impact did that have on your schooling as well?
Like school?
You would have been secondary school, wouldn't you?
No, I was in 6th form. I was in year 12 when it happened. So I have to give it to my 6th form, again, probably to do with their reputation. They were quite on it with COVID. They had already set up online lessons and stuff like that beforehand. And it was essentially like the school, what's the word? What's it? The school program?
The curriculum.
The timetable, that's the word. That's the word, timetable. Like the timetable didn't change at all. Like you go to your lessons in the same way, like but just log into the Teams session essentially. So in that sense, it was quite like normal in a sense, but then obviously it wasn't normal because I was at home, stuck in my room the whole day, even though I didn't have to be. Yes, I know, Mum.
I wasn't going to say that. I was just going to say that even though her school was really supportive and more probably prepared than the average school, there were still times when you found it quite demoralizing. And then she had she had surgery on her ankle at the time as well, so it was a little bit of more of a challenging time. So it wasn't just COVID, it was surgery. It was just like we have short memories, don't we? And it's just like she was on medication at the time that made her a little bit drowsy and nauseous, and still she managed to stick. Yeah, but as we've always said to her, just do your best. Your best will be good enough, and I have a strong belief that what's meant for you can't miss you. So just so all of everything that she's done, that was part of your path, wasn't it? Sometimes things don't work out, and there's a reason for that.
Yes.
So it's like they say,
Everybody
You know,
doing that.
yeah. So it's like I was saying to, was it yesterday? We were saying we no longer call it a bad day; it's a character building.
Yes.
Something goes wrong. It's not why is it happening to
It's an
me?
opportunity, isn't it?
Yes, why is it happening for me? So it's
Yeah.
just like everything is just like a mindset shift in how you look at things.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because it definitely wasn't plain sailing, even though like my sixth form had, put the provisions that needed to be done. Like, because I'm an only child as well, and obviously I would text my friends and stuff. I love my mum, but that's my mum, you know what I mean?
That's one
course,
daughter.
yes.
It's hard, isn't it? Because as strong mums, we want to press that onto and daughters as well to please do good and please be like me, and however strong or you're very different, my daughter's very different character but the same, but it's hard, isn't it? Because we've got to essentially let you go and fly and fall and make all your mistakes as well. In the meantime, just like getting ready to like rush and pick you up.
Yeah.
But it's really hard.
I mean, that is challenging, isn't it? Because it's that point where they're no longer really children, but they're not quite adults yet. So like negotiating that or navigating that rather is actually quite challenging. How much space do you give them? How much latitude you allow them to make mistakes? And you can see that you do that. You can see what's going to happen, but. Yeah, so that was quite tricky at times as well.
And I think I agree with Sarah. Actually, it's that in that you can make mistakes, and you will make. It's natural to make mistakes, and you hopefully learn from them and don't do it a second time. But sometimes you've just got to let your children play out as well and hope that they learn quick. You can't learn quick for them, can you?
No, but you know what? I'm going to share this and edit it out if you don't like. But the term is like we have this 2-year rule. She said, anything that I'm up to or that happens, I'm not going to lie to you, but I will tell you 2 years after the fact. Have you changed it? I said, I think it was like a couple of years ago. She said, my mum was coming from school one day, this was just in primary school, and she's like, and I was running home and I wasn't paying attention and I nearly got knocked over by this car, and it was totally my fault. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't know what to do. She's like, that was 2 years ago. No, it's way longer than 2 years ago. And she's like, from now on, I'm not going to tell you stuff until later. And all those things that you told me to do, like, we allowed her to walk to school, and it'd be like, walk to school, do not go anywhere else, do not buy sweets. Have your breakfast already, blah, blah. She's like, I went with my friends, we were on a trampoline before we got to school. This is like, where they say
I can kind of relate to that 2-year rule. You if you tell your parents, it's like exactly. So it's just like, let me just keep that to myself for now.
But you know what? Now that she's an adult, I can't be mad about it.
No.
Just be grateful that she that
she shared eventually.
That she's sharing and that she's sensible.
That was a bit of trampoline in the free shop. Can you imagine it? Make sure everything counts. Another cigarette.
So I'm going to come back to you, Patricia. What do you need to study to become a party wall surveyor?
Okay, so there's no set rule, or set route rather. So what you do need to have is a level of construction knowledge. You need to be very, very au fait with the Party Wall, etc. Act 1996 legislation. I'm just going to call it the Act from now on. And you also need to have, I would say, quite good communication skills for the reasons that we, discussed earlier. And it's also about being very clear about what your jurisdiction is and understanding the Party Wall process. So, for example, you could have started on a building site as an apprentice and worked your way through the process. You've got your construction knowledge there. There's the faculty of Party Wall surveyors. So I've done there. They've got a couple of courses, and I've got membership pending. So there's joining that, and then because you're part of that faculty, you've got that that community to help you through the process. My particular route was because I used to be in housing development. I had, I would say, limited construction knowledge because I was client side, and I'm a very curious, nosy, whatever way you want to put it, person. And like we talked about, like the interest in buildings, and I used to go on site. And I used to probably drive a couple of site managers and stuff nuts because I would ask like quite detailed questions and stuff, and I'd like shadow like clerk of works, and like I was like one day I was just like, I need to know more about this. So then I studied for the Masters in Building Surveying, so that was my construction knowledge. Now, studying that for 2 years, there is still way more to learn. So that is so it's one of those things that you start and you realise just how much more you don't know, but it's a really good grounding. Yeah, so it's having the previous background and basically going on the courses rather, and it's becoming very affair with the legislation. And right now I've got 5-6 party wall books on my table, because it's quite technical. There's a lot of case law, so it's not something that you need to know off the top of your head or anything, but you need to be quite familiar with the cases, and like, because the act is written in such a way, it's open to a lot of interpretation. So there's quite a few grey areas. So again, it's all about being familiar with case law and understanding these bits and pieces. So there is no set route, but there are, I would say, prerequisites before you're going to jump into this world. Yeah.
Wow. And is it something that, as time goes on, does there tend to be like changes in the legislation that you then need to kind of keep on top of that, or is it pretty much?
Well, how do I say? Right. So 1996, and it was enacted in 1997. Since then, there's only been one change, and that's to do with the fact that if you're serving notices, if you've got the consent of another party, you can send it by email instead of post. That's only been the only change. So there has been like a lot of change in terms of like construction technology, which has moved beyond the Act. But as you know, much more senior colleagues have said, you know, they don't see the Act being rewritten anytime soon, because Parliament, you know, government's got like lots of other things, more important things as we all know, to focus on right now. So in terms of like changes, not at the moment. So that's going back to the whole thing about grey areas. So because construction technology tends to change and all that kind of stuff, as the Act stays the same and all of these other factors change, that's when you have more and more grey areas. And the only way that grey areas are made clear is when they become case law.
Patricia, what's your background? What was your schooling?
My schooling.
I'm just wondering, you know, your daughter's got to, you know.
Yeah, because we're opposites, you see. You know, that's why I say that. Cause,
it's only because when I was at school, I'm 55 soon. There was no option of uni and stuff like that for us. I went to a comprehensive all-girls school in Plumstead, which it was. I think I was admirable because I loved school, and I just I took exams I didn't even study in because they had bought them.
See,
I just kept pushing myself. I was the eldest of 3 daughters, and my 2 poor sisters that came after me. The teachers
had a lot to live up to.
Oh, exactly that. You're not like Sharon. You're not like Sharon. It's just like
which is the worst thing. Which is the worst thing you can say to a child is not comparing them to other people.
But it was the 80s. They did that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what your background was.
Yeah. So like I did a little bit of a LinkedIn post about that after I finished, because like Mum would be like really, you know, I mean, she's proud of me, you know, and the rest of us for you know, for various reasons, but super proud of Shea because, like, you know, Caribbean parents of a certain generation are very big on education.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is we all know, just because, you know, education opens up other opportunities that they didn't have.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, you know, I lived in Jamaica for a period of time, for about 10 years, because when my parents retired, I was about 12 or so. So I went to Jamaica, did the equivalent of GCSEs, which are called CXCs over there. CXCs, GCSEs, they're not too, they're not
They're
particularly
basic
challenging.
schooling, aren't they?
Yeah, when you think about
Yeah.
it wasn't really that hard. You just
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all have
But it was O levels and A levels. Wasn't
yeah,
it?
so I know we all have different abilities, so I don't mean
Yeah.
to belittle anybody by saying that. But that was quite straightforward. Then I went to did A levels, but I came here to do the A levels. And I did it the first time, and I did everything except pay attention to the A levels. So I flunked them the first time round.
Wow.
So then I went, and I was living with my brothers at that time, and then I did them again, and I think they were marginally better because I didn't want to study. But the thing is, I didn't really know how to say to my parents, this isn't for me. So, I guess I could have started out in an office job and probably been a lot further, a lot more quickly. And this is the thing, education isn't for everybody.
Yes.
Or
And that
formal
was my point of asking you
education.
that question.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but there's so many different ways to learn, which like Shea's generation and stuff, they're able to benefit from all of that kind of stuff. So I went through that, and then I got my first office job, and then my boss left, and it's like, oh, it was in marketing. It's a small company, so it's like, oh, I'm going to apply for his job, and then the chief exec at the time said, no, you need a degree to do this. So that's the only reason I went. No, two reasons. Only reason I went to university is because they're like, if you want to progress, you need a degree. And then and my parents
They
were
used,
like,
they used to say that about, we can't give you any more money because you haven't got a degree. didn't
yeah,
they?
that was that was pretty much it. And at that time, when you're quite young and naive, you just think, okay, this is the
I'll
only
go to that.
this is the only
Yes.
place I can work. And that if he's going to say that, then everywhere else you guys are going to say that. So then I went to uni, and it's anytime I say it, I think it sounds really silly. I went in that first day of a university lecture, and I sat down, in the lecture hall, and I was just like, this is school. I don't know what I was expecting, because it's like I couldn't tell you or articulate what it was I was expecting. But anyway, fast forward, and I got through that, and I had a 2-2, and I did my dissertation, and the dissertation was the only piece of, and it was on housing as well, buildings and stuff. It's the only piece of work during that degree that I enjoyed, and I got first for that. But I came out of it, and I was just like, I felt like a little demoralised. I was like, what have I been doing for those 3 years? And at that time, Shea, I think she was about 4 or so, and people were like, oh, you're so good, you studied at uni and you had a child. It really wasn't that hard, because I wasn't paying that much attention at uni. And then up until a certain age, I was just like, well, studying isn't for me, and it's got nothing to do with capability. It's just like, I don't like to study. Or I don't like to learn this way.
Sense.
Yeah, and this is the strange thing, and it's just like, after I started working, and it's like, okay, it's about what you study.
Yeah, and how you study probably.
And how we study. So now going back to uni, in the past couple of years, you learn very differently. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah. And we learn very differently, don't we? So there's audio learning, kinetic and all that. So instead of just reading text upon text, if you don't understand something, our classes, it had lots of YouTube videos. You listen to podcasts and all of these other things, and then that's why I have it in the LinkedIn post. It's like the high school version of myself would be shocked to know that you've got a master's now. I mean, super shocked, because I was at that graduation. It's just like, this is me, I'm done now, kind of thing. So then, for us to have a daughter that's just she is what she is, does what she does, and she enjoys it. And actually, we don't need to push her that much.
She's driven in herself.
So it's like we were on the bus one time, and it's just we were on the way to Kingston, and we were sitting at the top. Yeah, I can tell all the stories. Yeah, it's just and then she just looked out the window, and she's just like, when I grow up, I'm gonna have a house like that. And Kingston, the houses are quite nice. It's like, you don't like your grandma's house? I'm like, yeah, that's nice. But that's my house there. And then she said, what's the best school everywhere? Or I think that's how she put it. She basically, it was the top school in the land kind of question. It's just like, I must have said either Oxford or Cambridge. I don't remember what I said. It's just so she's had Oxford or Cambridge in her mind since then. Yeah. So that's the background to it. I didn't like it, but it's learning who you are. Yeah. And it's when you, because I did it in marketing and economics, and I took the economics because I flunked it at A level, so I took it at uni to find out, actually, am I capable of doing this? Yeah. And I am, but it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference, isn't it, between the generations now. my parents didn't really like school and left, so I didn't have any mentors to push me. You're very lucky in that you have your mum that has
Her dad's been to uni as well.
Yeah.
So our parents are very different. So she gets a lot from us. But the education thing, we've always said, it's just like, you don't have to go to uni, but you have to have a plan.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think that's what every parent should say to their child.
Yeah, I didn't really have a plan. I liked school. I stayed on to do A-levels as well. And my dad was just like, God, you're doing all this stuff in some holidays. You're going to central London, working with the big property boys at 16, 17, and you're getting all this money. And that's from a businessman's point of view. He was just like, why are you wasting your time still being in school, doing A-levels they were English and history. I loved them and I was good at it. But if he hadn't have pushed me, then I might not have even been here today. I may not have ever gone down the property route, but I think it's that practical use of your time, and if you are good at something as well, why not explore that route? And so for me, he was my business mentor because he had a few companies, but I wish I'd had I think I looked for mentors in my bosses.
No, that makes sense. The reason why I'm half smiling whilst you're explaining that is because, like, when I finished and then I phoned my dad because we were in Jamaica earlier in the year, and she got to spend like a really great amount of time with her granddad, and because he's a person that's didn't have the education but was really good at setting up like different businesses. So he owns a supermarket at the moment and runs it. And I phoned him and I was like, but what's that? It's like, Dad, it's just like, I finished that. I got the masters and like I got the course director's award for that academic session as well. It's like, Dad, it's just like,
is that yes, Trisha? But when you have it the money now.
And it's just like what you were saying about your dad as well. It's just like, the education's all well, but it's now to take that time action and to make some money.
But I think it was all about the money back then. During their, they were born 45, 47, so just after the war, and it probably was, I can't speak from experience, but it probably was that, right, okay, how are we going to earn money now? As your it would have been early 60s when they got together, and I know that we were thriving then, but very different background, isn't it? It's very, and I think I craved that as well. I craved mentors because I felt like the black sheep of my family, and just like, are you sure that I was really born here? Because I didn't feel part of the family in that I love learning. I always read. My mum thought I was absolutely weird because I love reading books.
Oh, what kind of books?
Just textbooks.
Oh, okay. All right, maybe share something in it.
I love history books. I just loved reading. And my mum thought that was quite weird, which is at 16, 17, I was just like, you'd want your kids to progress into something that you didn't do and go that little bit further. But it's not every parent's dream for their kids, which is quite sad. But and I think that's probably why I push myself, because there's no one to push me apart from me.
I suppose with some parents though, it's not a case of where they don't want more for their child, but it's a case of they can't do more because of maybe what they've gone through and the education that they've had as well. So I think you've got that. But when you mentioned earlier on, Patricia, about going to university, and you didn't really want to go initially?
I don't know. I didn't want to go at all.
You didn't want to go at all, yeah. So, because I know people who their children have gone to university not really wanting to go, and then as based on that, they've then taken the decision to sort of step away from that because they've like said, it's really not for me.
And that is, it's not courageous, but I think that is the most sensible thing to
do. I think it is courageous. I think it is courageous though. If you start at uni, exactly, you start there and you think, you know what, it's not for me. I can't do this anymore. Rather than torturing yourself, it's a case of stepping away from that and then finding.
And I think as an employer as well, it's so much I think, more important to take on people with experience. So the more, you know, we had YTS schemes back in the 80s, which if you didn't want to go to university or college or anything like that, people you were put onto a YTS scheme, a youth training scheme, and you learnt why you weren't, which for lots of people,
very appealing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very
I learn, and you pay
Yes, exactly.
but you haven't got all that debt. There's going to be a lot of kids that come out of uni, isn't there, with a hell of a lot. What's the average debt now, Shea?
Don't want to think about it.
Yeah, come on, give us the average debt. What, 30 grand, 40 grand?
It's more than that.
Is it?
It's more than 9k a year just for the fees, isn't it? And then on top of that.
So about £50,000.
Yeah.
And especially if you get to that, you've got that 50 grand. I know that it gradually gets phased out if you can't pay it back over a certain amount of years. Yeah. But to come out with that on your shoulders, and then you've hated doing the uni, and then you don't even go into what you've studied.
Yeah, it's definitely, that is a lot. And then very recently, I think for the people who have just gone to university now, the first years, the rules have changed for them, the law has changed. I think for us, it was 30 years to pay it off, and then is it 30?
I don't know.
It's a number of years to pay off.
Because I would have one set of rules when I was studying. You're going to have one set, and first years are going to have another set.
Yeah, for me, definitely, I think I have
so a 30-year loan.
Yeah, to pay it off, and then now for the people who are in first year now, they have 40 years, so they're going to be paying it for extra 10.
Less likely to get written off.
Yeah. But and then also, I don't remember the numbers specifically, but I'll say it was 20k, and then you start paying back the loan. Now it's way less, so you have to start paying it back.
You can pay it back early, can you?
Okay.
Well, that's really good.
No, they will take it out automatically from
your
a
salary.
your salary from
So I know as an employer, it just gets you give us details of what your student loan is. We put it through payroll, and then it gets deducted automatically.
Yeah, so it's lower now, so people have less.
Is your threshold 23,000 or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you're at a certain level, don't you?
Yes,
before it could
that threshold is
lower. Yeah, it's not fun. But then there are a lot of different things to be done now. So obviously there's university, and to be honest, I was probably always going to go to university, but in my head I was like, if it's not the best university that I can find, then is it definitely worth the money? Because that is a lot of debt. But then there are degree apprenticeships as well, and that is basically learning while you earn. But then you can kind of get a degree on the side, but it's not as much commitment. So if you don't really like studying, but you still kind of get a degree, but then you also earning money and having that experience. Then there are also apprenticeships, just normal apprenticeships, obviously, that you can do from 16, and then you can also do I don't know what they're called, a special one after 18.
Vocational qualifications. But the difference, I think, between your generation and our generation is back then there was a heavy emphasis on if you have a degree, you're more elite, whereas now
they want experience.
Now the focus is on the right thing. So if you want to become an apprentice, if you all of these different routes, you don't have to feel like you're less than if you decide you're not going to university, which is massively helpful.
And then even when we're talking about people who have dropped out of university and realizing that that's not their route, that's really brave. I don't know if I could do that. If I
you've got to go back and talk with the parents.
I don't know if they do.
Exactly.
That's very, very nerve-wracking.
Actually, but your parents would, because you were if it's not for you.
Maybe I know that now, but
we've always been. I'm not taking that one. We've always said that you just got to have a plan.
But I still feel nervous, because it's a big decision. One of my closest friends, she dropped out essentially, but now she's doing great things, things that she actually wants to do.
So I have a lot of respect for her.
She's actually doing some great things. So it's not for everyone, and once you realise that, if you realise that and then take that decision, which is a big decision, it's
so I know you've got 2-year rule with your mum, but don't look at her. Have you ever thought about stopping? Yeah, and changing?
Cambridge is a lot of stress, I'm not going to lie to you, but I wouldn't, because I've started. That's it. And it also I know in the long term, Cambridge is going to probably open a lot of doors, because Cambridge or whatever. So I wouldn't. But I think about it.
So go back
but for the record, we would both Dad and I would be paying.
Is it? In
Yes.
the end, yeah.
No, we would no.
You won't find that until 2 years later anyway.
At this point.
But on a serious note, there are also lots of, not lots, but every now and then you'll hear in the news that kids that committed suicide because of the stress,
the pressure,
and
Yeah.
because of others' expectations. So
Yeah.
I've said that to her a couple of times during A levels and stuff, and it's just like, if it's too much, tell us.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's no way
Your life is so much more important.
Yeah.
Than putting yourself through that.
But I'm sure
Yeah.
universities in general, with
They must
mental
be
health
looking
and
out for that,
everything
mustn't
now,
they?
there's
No.
no.
There's a lot of campaigns in terms of
Okay.
like mental health within universities, because they're not the best. Like, even I think at any university they're not great. Like even at Cambridge UK we have tutors and directors of studies, but they're not necessarily.
Where would you say the stress was? Stress because you're going to have all this money on your shoulders? Stress because you don't know what you're going to do with your degree afterwards? Or
There's definitely post graduate distress, because you think, and I thought this as well until I got debunked essentially, that once you finish university and you have your degree, there's going to be so many doors open for you and jobs, and employers just going to be throwing themselves at you. But that's not the case. You actually it's really hard to get a job after university. Then while you're in university, it's just a lot of work that you're expected to do, and either it's essentially just lectures and do the essay, or that's for humanities, or lectures and go to the labs. There's a lot of work to do. So then there's that type of stress, and then university can be very lonely at times, because in terms of that social aspect, there are a lot of people there, but then at the end of the day it's just you in that room. So in terms of mental health, in terms of being lonely, that's really big, and also a lot of people who do have mental health issues, the waiting list to actually see a therapist is very long for a lot of universities, and that's generally speaking, or to get diagnosed with things like ADHD, so you can get those provisions. That waiting list is so long, and then sometimes you need to have money before you even apply to do that, so you have to pay for that. Then not everyone's going to have the money for that. When you ask the university, can you help me, then there's this long, all of these applications you need to do, and then people get demoralized. So it's a lot of work, and it's definitely a lot of stress. And not a lot of universities have the correct provisions for that, I would say mine included. So there are definitely a lot of campaigns within universities by students to actually help students with that, and make sure that mental health is actually taken seriously within university, because the suicide rate is kind of high, to be honest. So
have you experienced that while you've been there?
The stress or mental health provision? I wouldn't say so myself, because I wouldn't say so myself, but I can see it around me, very, very close, even in my friendship groups or people that I'd see, in terms of the waiting lists for to get seen about certain things, it's very, very, very long. And it is very demoralising for students, especially at Cambridge and Oxford, and to be fair, a lot of Russell Group universities where that is that expectation to get the work done, and just just come out as a student essentially, and just graduate.
But it's their reputation as well, isn't it?
Again, it really does need to.
That's on your shoulders.
Exactly, a lot of the reputation, and it's not necessarily that we think about it on a day-to-day basis, but I can only speak for Cambridge really, that you're there and it's this very big university, and there are so many students, and these lecturers or your tutors or whatever, they're dealing with a lot of students, and then a lot of students want these mental health provisions, as they should be getting, of course. But the list is just very, very long. So I wouldn't say so myself. Obviously I've had with that stress, and of course it's not been plain sailing by in the slightest, but I definitely see the issues and stuff, and that's why because Cambridge works on a collegiate basis, so different colleges, and my college at Emmanuel, and a lot of different colleges, there'll be a welfare officer or a well-being officer, a student who direct you to things that you need to go to. But again, the fact that the students have to do that, that might say something. But a lot of students take that initiative to at least direct students to places that they can go, and a lot of societies, because obviously there's a lot of societies in every university really, or in plays, or there's theatre productions, there'll be a well-being officer for all of those things to make sure that students feel okay.
Good to know.
But then again, maybe some students want it to be anonymous because they don't want to like necessarily tell them, or students, you're still a student. I don't necessarily want to tell a student my issues.
No, exactly.
So they can tell their friends.
Yeah.
So like there's still quite a lot of issues within that, but there are campaigns going on, and I think it is like a very pressing issue within university. And even sixth form and secondary school, just with young people generally speaking.
I asked you on the building note, Patricia. Did you let her go to Cambridge because of the fantastic buildings there?
No, but when was it just before you joined?
When we went,
yeah.
Did you go and do like a recce with your camera?
Actually, no, I didn't take the camera, but it is all really inspiring up there. And you go to Cambridge and you can't not do the punting, so I made sure that we definitely went along the canal and everything. And then when you go along and you see, and they tell you like a little history. Yeah, and it's like they're really, really gorgeous and really impressive. But like the whole little town itself, because we went to St. John's College, is that the really, really prestigious one?
there are quite a few.
No, that's in terms of the building.
Really big.
Yeah.
Maybe Trinity. No, King's.
Okay, alright.
King's or St. John's.
I think it was St. John's. It's like round the back and just like
the
really.
Hogwarts thing.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that's
that's
a really impressive building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think me and Sarah might have to come up with you and bring our cameras as well.
That's really
Just
nice.
It is like just make sure you go. It's like a sunny day. It's a really lovely little town to just like spend a day
Very
going
lucky.
through.
Yeah, I'm just there on a day-to-day basis when I'm rushing to lectures. Don't necessarily take it out
Yeah, but it's like a cycling city as well, isn't it? So she's got a bicycle. Yeah, so she's like, she's got a bicycle up there and everything now.
Nice that you can experience that as well. You know, if you went to uni down here, it'd be a very different experience, wouldn't it?
I never would have done that.
Yeah.
No.